Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Apollo Justice. Lamiroir has recently changed up her statement, and we are going to be presenting over here right now when she's talking about a switch. I think we all know exactly what she was talking, what the two people were talking about that she overheard. Press the switch. There's only one key that can unlock the mystery of those words. Oh? Yet there was nothing at the scene that could be called a switch, save the lights. True, there wasn't a switch at the scene, but it just so happens I have a switch right here. That certainly does look like a switch, doesn't it? The problem is, this was found not at the scene of the crime, but on the stage. The stage? Where the concert was held, yes. This was found hidden there. On the stage. Are you claiming that the voice Lamiroir heard was of someone commanding another to press the switch? It's a possibility. Oh, Herr Forehead, I call that impossibility. Why? It's hardly necessary for me to remind the court of the layout of the concert forum. The stage is quite far from Lamiroir's dressing room. Not to mention that the Gaviniers were in the middle of a concert on said stage. We aren't known for being a quiet band. You could shout all you wanted and not be heard.
The detective's voice was loud, but certainly not a shout.
So too have Herr Forehead's cries of possibility fallen short, far short of being heard. Sorry, but he wouldn't have needed to shout. Excuse me? You heard what I said, or do you need me to shout it out for you? It would have been quite simple to be heard on the stage from that dressing room. Oh wait, you like evidence, don't you? How about this? Using this, it would be easy to get a message to someone on stage from the dressing room. A headset. Prosecutor Gavin, perhaps you are familiar with this. Why, that's... What is it? Is that some kind of newfangled phone they invented while I wasn't looking? This is a type of transmitter, a communications device. Communications? Device? On what I've heard that night, everyone on stage was wearing one of these. Isn't that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, actually. They're for talking between band members. We've all had one. So you admit that if you were wearing one of these, talking from the backstage to the stage would be simple. True, but wait. Those send out an electronic signal. To avoid interference with the audio system, their range is quite limited. Lamiroir said it was about 30 feet, right? Look at this cross-section diagram of the concert forum. Ah. Exactly. The walk from the stage to the backstage seems far, but the direct distance is less than 30 feet. That can't be. So when Lamiroir heard the shooter's voice, he could have been talking to someone on stage. Ha! You're claiming this is the switch in question. Why did it have to be on the stage at that time? It could be placed in a pocket and carried anywhere. Someone could have hid it on the stage after the fact. Hey, he's got a point. How do we know where it was when she heard the voice? When the shooter said press the switch? Well, I guess we don't. An unfortunate situation. I'm afraid that until we know where the switch was, there's little point in debating it. Ugh. Sure this was the way to go with this. What is this switch anyway? We don't even know that basic fact. Yes, we do! Wait a second. I do know what this switch is. And if you follow that train of logic to its incredible conclusion, it ends up proof that completely changes this case. What's up, Apollo? Apollo? We know about this switch, right? We know what it is. Yeah? Well, think of it when it was used that day. Think of what happened. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further information to share concerning this switch, Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Justice?
I've been remiss in not telling the court this before. I know what this switch is.
Well, it seems the defense is set upon linking this switch to the case. Let's see your evidence of the link. What evidence do you have to explain what this switch is?
Where's the igniter? Prosecutor Gavin, you remember this?
That what? Is it another one of those newfangled phones? I hope not.
This is an igniter. What phone looks like this?
Igniter? You mean it's like a lighter?
Yes, exactly.
You aren't saying this switch is a remote...
I am. This is a remote trigger for an igniter.
What?
Look, I'll show you.
Yeah, whoa! Mr. Justice, you will cease and desist from burning down this courtroom!
Sorry. That was a bit more fire than I expected.
My whiskers had caught on fire.
Prosecutor Gavin, let me repeat myself. This switch is a remote igniter trigger. Doesn't that suggest something to you?
You're talking about what happened to me, aren't you?
Oh, exactly. That night at the concert, there was one unusual burst of flame. When your guitar caught fire in the middle of your performance.
Wasn't that part of the stage show, though?
Prosecutor Gavin was entirely unaware such a thing had been planned, and the guitar that burned was a valuable keepsake. That's right. He got it in Virginia from Lamiroir. He said the sound was amazing. Before it burned, of course. Now it's just kind of smokes.
The better the guitar, the brighter it burns. Hair forehead.
Yes?
Don't tell me you're trying to tie these two things together. Those being the shooter's voice heard by Lamiroir, and the guitar suddenly catching on fire.
I am. It's really simple when you think about it. Mr. Latouche and the shooter were at the crime scene. The shooter was wearing a headset. He ordered someone on stage to press the switch. The switch was pressed and the guitar caught fire.
Well, that does seem to make sense. Though something about it is bugging me. Can't quite put my finger on it.
Really? It seems pretty simple to me.
Hair forehead, don't destroy what little respect I have for you. I was expecting something a little more sensible. I guess I was wrong. What's this all about, Prosecutor Gavin? His simple story simply makes no sense. Think, that night, my guitar caught fire, yes? The cause may have been this indeed. However, the guitar caught fire during the second set.
That's right, of course. The guitar caught fire during Lamiroir's song.
Indeed, yet the shooting happened during the third set. The two are utterly unrelated. Yes, that must have been what was bugging me. The whole premise for this is faulty. See, his story makes no sense.
Are you sure about that?
What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice?
Maybe it's not the premise for my explanation of the switch that's at fault. Maybe it's our premise for the entire case so far.
What premise is this, specifically?
I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that maybe the killing didn't take place in the third act.
Oh shit, I love this song. Is this announced the truth version? It's so good. What's this? But Detective Emma Sky heard shots and found the body. All of this happened in the third act.
Gunshots rang out, and according to his testimony, Machi was in the dressing room at the time.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Justice?
Stay with me, Your Honor. He also told us this in his testimony. Namely, that the victim had already been shot. We all heard gunshots, but no one saw the shooting.
This is insane.
Just before the shooting took place, the shooter was heard on his headset, telling someone to press the switch. The next moment, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. We know that a remote trigger igniter was inside the guitar. From all these facts, we can draw only one conclusion. The crime did not take place during the third act, but during the ballad performance, the second act.
What?
Rubble.
Order! But that goes against the evidence.
What does, Your Honor?
This crime was carried out according to the lyrics of that song, yes?
Hey, he's right, look. The bullet is supposed to come after the fire. You're thinking about it the wrong way. Huh? Look, why would the shooter craft the events of the day to follow the lyrics anyway? It's an awful lot of trouble to go through. With little merit for the person doing it.
Well, I'm sure whoever it was had some reason.
Yes, they did. A reason that made it advantageous to follow the lyrics.
You're saying the order was reversed on purpose? Reversed, Prosecutor Gavin? If the criminal followed the lyrics strictly, then yes. The shooting would have had to come after the guitar burst into flame. Yet Herr Forehead has raised another possibility. He is claiming that the bullet came not after, but just before the fire.
Couldn't have put it better myself. We were only meant to think that the shooting came after the guitar burst into flame. That was the criminal's objective. The crime followed the lyrics to a point, but that was the ruse. Why else would the killer risk discovery by moving the body? That was the final touch to make us think he followed the lyrics the whole way.
Order! That would explain this most unusual situation.
It does. The killer changed the order of the events to create himself an alibi. In other words, the killer was someone who had an alibi for the third set, but not the second.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but sadly it has. Let me tell you why your little fairy tale makes no sense at all. Oh, it sounds good, I'll give you that. You've given us a reason why the killer bothered to follow the lyrics of my song. But I question your logic. For it's flawed from the very beginning.
Flawed?
Yes, a contradiction, Herr Forehead. One I've pointed out several times, no less. At the time of the crime, the small window at the scene was closed. How could Lamar have heard a voice through it?
Oh.
I know that you would like to divert our attention from this critical fact, but you're basing your entire line of reasoning on a false premise.
Right. Lamar's testimony is my entire case. That voice she heard, the shooter's voice. What if she couldn't hear it, Apollo? Look, what do we have? A man saying press the switch, and near the crime scene we have a switch, which acts as a remote trigger for an igniter. And last, but not least, Prosecutor Gavin's flaming guitar. Can't all be a coincidence, but how do I make it work?
I see a more direct line of questioning is required. When the crime scene was investigated immediately after the crime, that window was closed. Care to tell us how Lamar heard the voice? A key point, to be sure. Mr. Justice, can you explain this to the court?
Okay, Justice, you've got one thing to prove and one thing only. Lamar heard a voice, and she heard it during the second set. Think, how was Lamar able to hear the voice?
The window was open. She has divine hearing. I actually want to hear that.
The window was closed, as you say, yet Lamar could still hear the voice. Because she has the power of divine hearing. That's the only explanation.
The witness is a siren, Mr. Justice, not a saint.
I said hearing, Your Honor, not healing. Well, that fell on deaf ears.
I'm not sure I know what this divine hearing ability is.
Then perhaps we should hear it straight from the all-powerful voice himself. Can't you explain how clairaudience has anything to do with this case?
Can we just move on now?
Only if you can enlighten this court.
Time to rethink this.
Okay, now the real answer.
Lamar heard a voice, and she heard it during the second set. Think, how was Lamar able to hear the voice? She was somewhere else. When we investigated the scene, the window was closed. The shooter had no reason to close it, had it been open either. Meaning it was impossible to hear the voice through that window.
Ah, it's good to hear you making sense again. For a moment, I was afraid you might be a Borginian too. Well, that's offensive.
As I was saying, Lamar could not hear the voice through the window. So there can be only one explanation. She heard the voice from another location entirely.
What's this? You do amuse me so. And here I thought you and Good Sense were back on speaking terms. Now I'm afraid you and Good Sense speak two entirely different language. Shall I interpret for you, Herr Forehead? Lamar clearly stated she heard the voice through that small window, and there is only one small window at the scene.
Are you sure? Think about it. Isn't there another small window at the scene? There is?
Ah, I know that look. He wants us to ask him. Very well. You claim Lamar heard the voice from another location. Mr. Justice, show us where this location was.
Lamar heard the voice from here.
I'm supposed to present the vent, so... Does this look like a small window to you, Mr. Justice?
The state of modern society can be read from numerous objects and artifacts. In a sense, anything can be a window on our society.
I didn't ask you to point out a window on society. I want a window on the crime scene.
No points for trying. Lamar claims she heard the voice through a small window. And if the small window we know was closed, there's only one other thing she could have meant. Lamar heard the voice from here.
So, do I switch over here and press this one instead? When is it? This vent then?
What the heck? Why couldn't it be the other vent? Ugh. This is where Lamar heard that voice from.
But that's no small window. That's the air vent.
Don't you remember she's blind? What did she tell us? She said she's a Borginian, unfamiliar with our language. It's not a stretch to imagine she called the air vent a small window.
Now you've done it. You've gone beyond ridiculous and into ludicrous. So Lamar was up in the ventilation system listening to this man's voice.
That's the only logical explanation, yes.
Logical? I do not think this word means what you think it means, Herr Forehead.
Okay, what about it isn't logical?
It hardly merits saying. Why would Lamar be in the ventilation system? Hiding like a rat. No offense intended to her, of course.
The explanation for that is simple, Prosecutor Gavin. Isn't it, Lamar? You have been listening to our discussion here, yes?
Yes. I admit, it's had me quite confused since yesterday. Yes, the small window was closed. But why should that mean I could not hear through it? I feared that our prosecutor might himself need an interpreter.
The problem here is words. Lamar, this small window through which you heard the voice, was it up high on the ceiling of the roof, not low on a wall?
Yes, it was up on the ceiling.
What? Rubble.
Order! I will have order! Witness, you will clarify this statement to the court. Are you in fact saying that you were up above the ceiling of the room? And that's where you heard the moment of the crime?
Yes, in fact, I was. I am sorry, I never imagined it would become such an important point.
Yes, well, why the heck were you up there?
I believe it's time for another testimony.
I'm not sure, I can't.
May I remind you, this is a murder trial. We will hear your testimony. Tell us why you witnessed the crime from above the ceiling of that room. Please.
Well, looks like I'm on the right track. But will she say anything?
Yes, I was above the ceiling when I heard the voice. I had heard there was a, small window there before. It was in the middle of my performance. I had no time to report what I had heard. As to why I was there, I cannot say. I am bound to secrecy on this matter.
Oh, it's a magician's secret.
Bound by secrecy?
In my line of work, one has many obligations to uphold.
But you say you were in the middle of your performance. So this did happen during the second set.
I did not witness the crime, you must understand. I only know what I heard.
Yes, but you must tell us what you were doing in detail.
That's what the cross-examination is for, Ja, Herr Forehead? Our mission in this court is to discern the truth. No obligation, no binding pact may hinder that mission.
Very well. Mr. Justice, you may begin the cross-examination.
What are you going to do, Apollo? I'm going to find out the truth. She was up above that ceiling for a reason. I just have to get it out of her.
I hope this video is fine because I saved by, well, just because I lost some health, so I needed to save just in case.
Okay. Above the ceiling. Could you be more specific?
I cannot.
Because you're bound to secrecy.
Yes. To tell the truth, I was not supposed to even say I was above the ceiling. I dare not say any more.
Doesn't sound like I'll be able to coax it out of her just by asking. By small window, you mean the air vent?
I only remembered I needed to be careful of where I put my hands and feet. I cannot see the light coming through the window, of course.
The air vent grate could trip you up, certainly.
So I was walking very carefully when I heard the gunshots. Startled, I crouched and listened. That is when I heard his voice come from the room.
Darian's voice.
I knew something terrible had happened, yet...
So without a word, you just let the third set start.
After the curtain closed for the second set, there was still much to do.
You could have prevented this whole misunderstanding if you had only told us sooner.
Yes, perhaps I could have.
I see little point in badgering the witness. What's done is done. The mind works differently when one is in the middle of a performance. Why, I've lost my voice in the middle of a show and I kept on singing, completely unaware.
Singing without a voice? If only all contradictions were so obvious. If only I could get Lamar to talk. Pressuring her like this doesn't seem to be getting me anywhere. You heard the gunshots during the second set, during your performance. You're quite sure.
Yes. Why would I lie about the time?
Why didn't you tell us this yesterday?
No one asked me. I thought you all knew. I told you Meowzy was not the killer. I told you this many times.
Yes, you did. But you never told us why.
I am sorry. I was not able to speak of it.
Unable or unwilling? She's not talking, Apollo. What do we do? We'll just have to prove it ourselves. As long as she is bound by this pact of silence, she won't talk. But if I can prove why she was up there, she'll have to admit it. But how are you gonna do that? She was singing on the stage, Apollo. She could have been up above the ceiling too. Yes, she could. I've got a theory as to why, too. And maybe I've got the evidence to prove it. Lamar was bound into secrecy. It's going to take some hard-hitting proof to make her talk. I think I know why she was up there, but how do I prove it? Did I miss a statement? Whatever. Alright, let's go to the one where she cannot say. We're going to present the videotape. Lamar, truth be told, the reason for your presence above that ceiling is quite clear. Especially when you consider what happened during your performance.
What happened?
Yes, it's all right here on this video. I'm not singing again. Because it keeps surprising me every time. As we can see, Lamar was clearly not on stage for her entire performance. Oh! Though it saddens me to be so realistic. Lamar is incapable of actually vanishing, let alone teleportation. So the only explanation is that she was hidden from view. And during that time, she moved to the back of the forum. Apollo! What, Trucy? It's not nice to reveal a magician's secrets, and it's against the rules. But I'm a lawyer. I'm not supposed to be nice.
This is all very fascinating. But how is it possible? There's only 20 seconds between when she disappears and reappears. She couldn't have moved that fast. Is something wrong, Prosecutor Gavin?
This was his concert, his show. He knows how the illusion was performed.
Aha!
He's just realizing his own oversight. Let's look at the cross-section diagram again. Here we can trace a route through the ceiling. It goes from the stage to the backstage to the rear of the forum.
Oh!
Recall Lamar's testimony from yesterday.
I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it.
He went from the stage to the backstage exit. A perfect description of this route above the ceiling.
Lamar knew of this because of her part in the illusion. But she wasn't the only one who knew.
What?
Just now in the lobby, Machi told me something.
I know if I opening vent, I can leave stage and backstage. He said that.
Oh, were you not informed, Prosecutor Gavin?
I knew about the Vanishing Act, of course, yet I had no idea of the route that would be used. Why didn't that magician tell me?
Magicians only reveal details of their acts on a need-to-know basis. They're the bread and butter of a magician's life, you know. That's why he bound Lamar to secrecy. Well, Lamar?
I am impressed, Mr. Attorney. Mahir was right about you.
So, what does this mean? Are you saying you used this route above the ceiling?
I did.
Well, that's that, but I'm still a little confused.
Why is that, Your Honor?
As I said before, there was very little time between when she disappeared and when she reappeared. 20 seconds tops. Especially if she stopped to hear the shooter's voice.
That's a good question.
I guess we'll find out how she did it in the next video, because we are now out of time, so I'll see you guys then.